Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Chris, the podcast in which I address your concerns and questions, as well as share my life with you. So, considering that we don't have any questions so far, I'm just going to share my life with you today. But before that, if you do have a question, or if you're wondering about something, or maybe it's simply a subject that you'd like me to cover, make sure to leave it down below, and I'll see what I can do about it. I make one of these almost every day. I used to say that I made one every day, but that was prior to going on vacation with my family, which is exactly what I'll be talking about in today's episode. A few days ago, actually a few months ago, I was invited on vacation with my parents, my sister and her husband, all of that. And I said yes. So I decided, even though I wasn't as finished with my exam project as I was hoping for, I would still go. So I went, and it was actually pretty fun. I did end up spending a lot of time just working on writing my report and doing some final tweaking to my website. There was actually a lot to do. But regardless of that, it was nice. I got to drink some alcohol with my mum, and she gets drunk really fast. We had a bit of an issue because I couldn't quite explain to her that the tiny dots in the sky were stars. She claimed that you couldn't see the stars at this time of year because they got blocked by the wind. It was a very amusing experience. And just in general, I was with my niece and nephew too, and we went to the water park and we bathed and swam and dove, and, the things you do at a water park, really. Well, it wasn't really a water park, more like a swimming pool. And it was pretty fun. Like, in general, I had a great vacation. I do have to admit, though, that it's nice to be home. I am very much a homebody. And so, even though going out and being with other people is nice and enjoyable, when I get home, it just hits me in the face like a wall. So I actually felt pretty rested. I had a great day. Then I came home and I had to work on my assignment. So I did that. I just powered through, got lots of coffee, just like I do now. Sorry about the sipping, the slurping. I overpoured the cup and it's still really warm. So anyway, I finished my report. And then when I was finished, I just got so tired. All of a sudden, I felt like I was about to fall asleep on my keyboard. It was a strange experience. But this project has been something I've worked on for the past month. Now, my issue here is that even though I'm done with this project, doesn't mean I'm done working. Because we still have to make some improvements to the site, but I don't really... at least the academic stuff is out of the way. No, the thing is, I'm an app developer. I've mentioned that before, but I'll just go ahead and mention it again. I'm a certified app developer. Now, I'm certified through something called the London App Brewery by doing one of the online courses, which means I'm not a certified app developer. I'm someone who has a certificate that proves that I can do certain things, which is what I refer to as certified. And the course was developed in close relation with the people that created the thing I'm certified in, which is Flutter. And so it's the closest thing to an official certification as a Flutter developer. Anyway, I have used my capabilities of development in Flutter to create an app for my girlfriend and I to chat on and to call each other on. But unfortunately, it hit a bit of a snag. I realized that the things I'd been doing were just not working. It wasn't looking good. I had no direction. So I started over. And I thought I had a better direction. It turns out I didn't, but that's a whole other matter. I started over, and it took me about a month before I realized that university was not for me. So I work next on these private projects. I do so next to my schooling. And I was in the middle of my exam period trying to reinvent the app that I'd made. And like it broke me basically, and I couldn't continue. So I never got to push the updated version of the app. And the app hasn't seen development in several months now. Because given the fact that I was redesigning it starting somewhere in December, the app hasn't actually been worked on in almost half a year, almost 6 months. And so, you see, I want to go back, but I want to kind of start over. Because I started the business back when I was with my old partner. Well, not really a business, but a business name and all of those things. I got it ready. Well, I spoke about this before, and I want to reinvent myself. I'm going to reinvent the whole thing. I've already got some things planned out. But not just that. I'm also going to use the knowledge and the skill that I've gained at my current school to gain an edge over myself, really. So I don't just dive headfirst into this thing, but I actually create some personas, mood boards, style tile, wireframes, so that once I sit down and code it, all I have to do is code it, and everything else will already be in place. I don't have to design it while I'm programming it. And I feel like that is going to make things so much easier for me, especially because I'm considering using a tool called Flutterflow to simplify what I'm going to do. Now, Flutterflow doesn't do everything, but it's a visual design tool. It's a low-code solution. Well, technically speaking, it's a no-code solution. I do believe that they cater themselves as being no-code. But I will have to make it do things that aren't that easily doable. And I'm thinking about, using it to set up the shell, using it to design my app. Then I've got the shell and I implement all of the functionality. I create the features. I think that should improve my work speed. But at the same time, it might be a little redundant to learn a separate tool just for that. But when you think about it, I'll be using this for more than just one app. I've already got several different apps in mind as well. And even if it's just for setting up so we call them scaffolds. That's screens. It's a screen, basically. Well, perhaps it would be faster to prototype an app by just setting up a bunch of scaffolds, implementing the basic information, such as text, for example. Because, I can then make an area where I know that I'm going to be the one who controls the functionality. You wouldn't believe how annoying it actually is to set up one of those on-screen keyboards, numpads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. They are so annoying to set up. And so, in theory, I could do that through Flutterflow. I could just set it up real quick, and then I could build the functionality behind the scenes. It's not really cheating. It's just making things easier on myself. Now, the issue is that I would have to learn to use Flutterflow first. And that would most likely involve, making different apps. So I could make some smaller applications, like a to-do list, an 8-ball app, a citation, quotes. Those kinds of things. I could learn to do those in Flutterflow. And then once I'm comfortable with the tool, like I've grown comfortable with tools like Adobe XD and Photoshop and InDesign and all that. Once I reach that point, I would be able to start working on the real app that I want to make. I actually have 2 in mind, but one of them is the primary focus. And I could create everything and then code it afterwards. Like I said, I've been going over this over and over. It's because I'm kind of debating whether or not to do it. I think I will, but I'm not quite sure yet, especially because if I recall correctly, Flutterflow is actually kind of expensive, but I do believe you can get it for free if you're a student at a relevant school, and I am, but I don't know if they recognize my school. You got to remember I study multimedia design. That involves no-code solutions. We are educated to understand tools like these, basically, because we are supposed to be able to use them. We are supposed to be able to use these kinds of tools and then hand them off to the real developers who can then improve them. So it really is my job to do this. And as I've talked about before, I kind of want to drag a couple of my classmates into the whole thing. Now, dragging them into the whole thing would be overwhelming for them. They wouldn't be able to help me with the actual programming because they barely understand web development. And by that, I mean they barely understand HTML and CSS. And yes, they will improve in time, but I also happen to know that it's not really their thing. It's not their forte. It's not their interest. Design, on the other hand, one of them in particular is super good at design, and the other one is a super hard worker. So we have a great designer, a hard worker, and a programmer. Now, they're not going to start learning this tool on their own because that would be, again, a little overwhelming. But if I learn it, I can teach it to them. They can start using it to build apps that I then finish. And that way we could set up a better and improved pipeline. Better and improved are the same thing. Anyway, we could set up an improved pipeline. And that's part of what I'm interested in. I'm interested in starting out solo, but eventually turning it into a small studio where we do multiple things. I really am interested in starting a business with them, like I discussed in the previous episode. And we're gonna start slow. We're gonna start with the flashcards that we all agreed on doing this next, because we are going to practice for the exam, and we're gonna make flashcards, and we're gonna, that's what I mean. We're gonna take it one step at a time. The next step is to hand draw some flashcards, and then play around with those. Then the step after that is to pass the exam. Then the next step is for me to redevelop the app and come back strong next semester, show it off to them, and then I can start working on pulling them into the business. I can start telling them, I'm very interested in doing this with you. And as you can see, I've already got a base product. You don't need to invest any money, and you only need to invest the amount of time that you're comfortable investing. I just need help. And it doesn't matter if you help me design it, help me test it, just give me feedback. It doesn't really matter. I just need some help, and then that help can grow. So as the project grows, so would the support that they give me. And eventually they'd be working full time because I'd be able to pay them full time. Hopefully. I mean, that's a dream, right? And then I'm gonna have to take them with me to Canada. No, just kidding. They probably wouldn't do that. But yeah, I am going to move away myself and then work remotely and maybe start an international business where we have people from all over the world, which is a pain in the ass to administer. I don't know. Like, there are a lot of uncertainties still, and I have no idea what I'm doing. You know me. I never have any idea what I'm doing. But at least this time, I'm gonna take it one step at a time. I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to make sure that I have the necessary things to move on to the next step. I'm gonna use what I've learned at school, and I'm gonna make use of the people around me. Speaking of the people around me, just a final note. I wrote in a reflection about my study group how one of our members had been not adequate. And I didn't say anything super mean or anything. It was just a bit harsh. And I admit that it was harsh. I even said so in the reflection itself. It may be a little harsh, but it's the unfortunate truth. Well, apparently, that particular person reads my portfolio. I didn't know she would read it. I didn't know anyone read each other's portfolios. And she messaged me last night asking why I would write that. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this. I don't know what to say. I wrote it because it's the truth. I wrote it because it bothered me. And, I mean, what am I supposed to do about that, really? I'm very sorry that she had to read it, of course, but she did kind of shoot herself in the foot. She's the one who never showed up. She's the one who chose to not be a part of what we were doing. She's the one who chose to never speak up, to not participate. Yeah. And I didn't really say anything other than the truth in that post. It was just the truth, but the truth can be harsh sometimes. And of course I have to deal with it. I just don't know how. So if any of you got any tips on that one, real quick, leave them in the comments down below so that I can get some inspiration, because I need to address this probably today, tomorrow at the latest. So yeah, there's that too. Anyway, I've been rambling about a bunch of topics. Well, not really, but more so I went from camping to business to school to personal. And I'm not sure what to label this episode as, but I'm gonna figure out a good name for it. Probably not a good name because I suck at naming things, but a name nonetheless. In the meantime, and I know I said this last time as well, but this time I promise, I will see you tomorrow, okay? I need to get a little better at remembering that I won't be able to do these every single day, and that's okay. So for now, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.